After my father left my mother and married another woman, he allowed his new wife daughter to me every day until I could no longer bear the pain and decided to him out of my completely. I need to get this out before I lose my mind completely. This is going to sound pathetic, but I don't care anymore. I root everything. It started 3 years ago when I met Sarah at that work conference. Mom had been sick for months. Cancer. The house smelled like medicine and fear, and I was drowning. Sarah was everything Mom wasn't in that moment, vibrant, laughing, alive. She didn't know about the tubes or the chemo or the nights I spent crying in my car. I told it was just talking, just friendship, just someone who didn't look at me with pity. But I'm lying to you even now. I knew exactly what I was doing when I started texting Sarah late at night, when I started complaining about how complicated things were at home, when I started meeting her for coffee, then lunch, then dinner. Mom was fighting for her and I was planning my escape. The first time Sarah me, I didn't stop her. I could have, should have. Instead, I her back and felt alive for the first time in months. In the parking lot behind some restaurant, while Mom was probably at home wondering where I was. I went home that night and looked at Mom sleeping in our bed, oxygen machine humming, and I felt nothing but resentment. Resentment that she was sick, that she needed me, that she wasn't young and exciting like Sarah. What kind of monster thinks that about someone they're supposed to love? The affair lasted 6 months. 6 months of lies, secret meetings and deleted texts. 6 months of coming home late with excuses about work or friends. 6 months of watching Mom's face light when I walked in, grateful I was there, while I counted the minutes until I could text Sarah again. Mom never suspected. She trusted me completely. Even when she was too weak to leave bed, she'd smile and say, "I'm so lucky to have taken care of everything." I was taking care of everything, alright. Taking care of destroying our together. The end came fast. Sarah wanted me to leave Mom. "She's not going to get better," she said over dinner at our usual place. "We're wasting point." That night I went home and really looked at Mom for the first time in months. She'd lost so much weight. Her hands shook when she tried to drink water. She was dying and instead of being there for her, I was planning to abandon her. But I still did it. I left her a note. A note. After 12 years together, after everything we'd built, I left a note on the kitchen counter and moved in with Sarah. The note said I needed space to figure things out, that I'd been under too much pressure, that it wasn't about anyone else. Every word was a lie. Mom called me crying that night, asking what she'd done wrong. I told her I needed time, that I'd call her soon. I never called. Sarah and I got a nice apartment across town. We posted pictures on social media. We went to parties and acted like a normal couple. I blocked Mom's number because hearing her voicemails made me feel guilty, and I didn't want to feel guilty. I wanted to feel free. 3 months later, Sarah's daughter Emma moved in with us. 17, angry about her parents' divorce, and she hated me from day one. Not that I blamed her. I was the guy who'd stolen her mom's attention, disrupted her, forced her to change schools. But Emma had a talent for cruelty that went beyond normal teenage attitude. "How's sick girlfriend doing?" she'd ask at breakfast, smirking. "Oh wait, dumped her when she got too much work." Didn't. Sarah would tell her to be nice, but she never really stopped her. I think part of Sarah liked having someone say the things she was thinking but couldn't say herself. Emma would accidentally leave articles about cancer patients being abandoned by their partners on the kitchen counter where I'd see them. She'd make loud phone calls to her friends about guys who dump sick people. When my coworkers came over, she'd introduce me as Mom's boyfriend who left his dying girlfriend. Every day was a new humiliation. Every day was a reminder of what I'd done. But I stayed, because going back to Mom meant admitting I'd made the worst mistake of my. It meant facing what I'd become. Then Sarah's friends started treating me differently. Cooler, more distant. I overheard one of them call me that guy at a party. No, that guy who abandoned his girlfriend when she got cancer. The story had spread. Of course it had. Emma had made sure of that. Work became unbearable. People who used to joke around with me started avoiding me. My boss, who'd known Mom from company events, could barely look at me. I'd walk into rooms and conversations would stop. I was becoming a pariah, and I deserved every second of it. But the worst part, the absolute worst part was I tried to check on Mom through mutual friends and found out she'd died 4 months after I left her. 4 months. She'd lived 4 more months alone, while I was playing house with Sarah and getting tortured by a teenager who saw exactly what I was. She died alone because of me. The funeral was to hundreds of people whose lives she'd touched. Her sister gave a speech about Mom's strength and grace, even in her final months when she faced her illness alone. I watched from the parking lot. I couldn't go in. Couldn't face her family, her friends, the I'd abandoned. But I could see them through the windows, celebrating a woman who died thinking the person she loved most had stopped loving her. That night, I tried to tell Sarah about the guilt, about how seeing all those people made me realize what I'd lost. She listened for about 5 minutes before me off. "Can't keep living in the past," she said. "She's gone. We have a future to build." Emma, who'd been eavesdropping from the kitchen, laughed out loud. "Future? With him? Mom, he'll dump the second things get hard. That's literally what he does." And for the first time I realized Emma was right. About everything. I was exactly who she said I was. The kind of person who abandons people when they need him most. The kind of person who chooses easy over right, every single time. That was 8 months ago. 8 months of Emma's daily reminders of what I am. 8 months of watching Sarah's friends drift away because nobody wants to be associated with someone like me. 8 months of living in a house where a teenager has more moral authority than I do. Because she does. Emma sees clearly what took me 34 years to understand. Some people are just fundamentally selfish. Some people will always choose themselves over everyone else, no matter the cost. Some people shouldn't be trusted with anyone's heart. I lost the only person who ever truly loved me because I was too coward to love her back when loving her got difficult. I thought I'd hit bottom after Mom's funeral. I was wrong. Rock bottom has a basement, and Emma made sure I found every level of it. The morning after the funeral, I came downstairs to find Emma had printed out Mom's obituary and left it on the coffee table. Right where I'd see it with my morning coffee. "Thought might want a copy," she said, not looking from her cereal. "No, since missed the actual service." Sarah was getting ready for work and didn't hear, or pretended not to. I was starting to realize Sarah had perfected the art of selective hearing when it came to her daughter's psychological warfare. Emma, that's enough, I said quietly. She finally looked at me. Really looked at me, with the kind of contempt usually reserved for something scrape-off shoe. Is it though? Because from where I'm sitting, nothing I could ever do comes close to what did to her. So no, I don't think it's enough. She was 17 and she had more moral clarity than I'd ever possessed in my entire. That became the pattern. Every morning a new reminder. Sometimes subtle, a documentary about cancer survivors left playing on the TV. Sometimes brutal, like the day she asked Sarah in front of me if she'd ever worry about getting sick while dating me. I mean, what's backup plan if get cancer? Should start looking for replacement boyfriend now just in case. Sarah laughed it off, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. Maybe fear. Emma saw it too, she always saw everything. Work became a nightmare. The whispers followed me everywhere. People who used to invite me to lunch started making excuses. The company holiday party was coming and I knew I wouldn't be going. How could I show with Sarah when half the people there had known Mom? My boss called me into his office 3 weeks after the funeral. Look Tom, I'm not gonna pretend this isn't awkward, he said. Lisa was well liked here. People are having trouble separating personal choices from professional performance. Translation: I was becoming a liability. I'm not saying need to leave, he continued. But maybe it's time to consider a fresh start somewhere else. I was being pushed out of a job I'd had for 6 years because I couldn't keep my personal disasters contained. That night I tried to talk to Sarah about maybe moving away. Starting over somewhere new. Run away, Emma interrupted from the kitchen. Again. That's literally only solution to everything, isn't it? Emma, go to room, Sarah said, but there was no real authority in it. Why? So two can plan escape from the consequences of his actions. Mom, he's gonna do the same thing eventually. Know that, right? Sarah's face flushed. That's not true. But Emma wasn't done. Remember when we're sick with pneumonia last month? How long did it take him to start complaining about having to take care of? 3 days. 4. She was right. I had complained. To Sarah's sister, thinking it would stay private. Apparently nothing stayed private in our house. I heard on the phone, Emma continued, looking straight at me, saying how exhausting it was, how hadn't signed for this. Sound familiar? The room went dead silent. Sarah stared at me like she was seeing me clearly for the first time. Said that? She whispered. I wanted to lie. God, I wanted to lie so badly. But Emma had broken something in me with her relentless honesty. Made it impossible to hide from what I was anymore. I was frustrated. I said, it was just venting. Emma repeated. Like leaving Mom was just needing space, right? That night Sarah slept on the couch. The first in what I thought was my salvation relationship. Emma ramped her campaign after that. She started inviting friends over, making sure they knew exactly who I was and what I'd done. Teenage girls have no filter and infinite creativity for cruelty. This is Tom, she'd say to her friend Jessica. He's dating my mom. His last girlfriend died of cancer after he abandoned her. Isn't that romantic? Or to her friend Marcus, that's my mom's boyfriend. He's like a case study in what not to do when someone supposedly love gets sick. Pretty educational, right? They'd stare at me like I was some kind of exhibit. The cautionary tale in human form. Sarah started working longer hours. Coming home later. When I'd ask about it, she'd say she was just busy, but I caught her looking at me sometimes with this expression I recognized. The same way I'd looked at Mom when she got sick. Like I was a burden she was starting to resent. The breaking point came on a Thursday night in November. Sarah had been quiet all week, and Emma had been unusually cruel even by her standards. She'd invited her entire debate team over and introduced me to each of them the same way. This is the guy I was telling about, the one who proves that some people are fundamentally incapable of basic human decency. They discussed me like I wasn't there, like I was a case study for their ethics class. But why did he do it? One kid asked. Emma shrugged. Because he's selfish. Some people just are. They can't help it. That's kind of sad, another girl said. Not for him, Emma replied. For everyone who makes the mistake of trusting him. Later that night after the kids left I exploded. I can't live like this anymore, I told Sarah. Daughter is destroying me piece by piece, and just let it happen. Look tired, so tired. Maybe she's not wrong to, she said quietly. Those words hit me like a physical. Think I deserve this. I think, she paused, choosing her words carefully. I think Emma sees things clearly, more clearly than I wanted to. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've been watching Tom, really watching, and she's right. Do run when things get hard. Did complain when I was sick. Do put first, always. The room started spinning. This was supposed to be my fresh start, my redemption, my proof that I could be better. Knew what I did when we got together. I said desperately. I thought I was such a monster, why did? Because I thought I was different, she interrupted. I thought what we had was different. But don't have relationships, Tom. Have conveniences. And the moment I stopped being convenient. She didn't finish the sentence, she didn't need to. That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to Sarah breathe beside me, and I realized Emma had won. She'd held a mirror for months, forcing me to see exactly what I was, and now even Sarah couldn't unsee it. I was the guy who abandons people. The guy who runs when love gets complicated. The guy who chooses easy over right every single time. And for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I understood that Emma wasn't trying to punish me. She was trying to save her mother from becoming the next woman I destroyed. The next morning I found another printout on the coffee table. Not an obituary this time. A rental listing for a studio apartment across town. Emma was sitting at the kitchen counter, watching me read it. I highlighted the ones in price range. She said matter-of-factly. Mom deserves better than wondering when we're gonna get tired of her too. For once I didn't argue. Because she was absolutely right, and the worst part. Part of me was already relieved at the thought of leaving. Because staying meant continuing to face what I'd become, day after day in the eyes of a 17-year-old who could see straight through to my rotten core. I moved out the next weekend. Sarah helped me pack, which somehow made it worse. She was kind about it, gentle, like I was something fragile that needed careful handling. Emma watched from her bedroom doorway as I carried boxes to my car. She didn't gloat or make remarks. She just observed like a scientist watching an inevitable chemical reaction reach its conclusion. Take care of Tom, Sarah said as I loaded the last box. She meant it. Even after everything, she genuinely wished me well. That's when I finally understood the full scope of what I'd lost. Not just Mom, who'd love me unconditionally. Not just Sarah, who'd tried to build something with me, but my ability to inspire that kind of care from anyone. Emma had been right from the beginning. I was fundamentally broken in a way that made me dangerous to love. The studio apartment was everything to expect from a place fine through classifieds. Thin walls, broken blinds, a neighbor who played music at 3 a.m. But it was what I deserved. What I could afford after taking a lower paying job at a company across town where nobody knew my story. For the first month, I told this was temporary, a chance to rebuild. To prove Emma wrong and win Sarah back, I sent texts, left voicemails, showed at the coffee shop where Sarah and I used to meet. She was polite but distant, like I was an acquaintance she'd lost touch with, not someone she'd shared a bed with for over a year. I think we both need space to figure things out, she said during our last conversation. Those were almost the exact words I'd used in the note I left for Mom. The irony wasn't lost on me. By December I stopped trying. Sarah had blocked my number. Emma had made sure everyone in their social circle knew exactly why we'd broken. I was radioactive. Christmas was the worst. I spent it alone in my studio, eating Chinese takeout and scrolling through social media. Sarah and Emma had gone to Sarah's sister's house. The photos showed a family gathering full of laughter and warmth. I wasn't missed. They looked happier without me. That's when it really hit me. I hadn't just lost relationships, I'd lost the ability to be part of a family. Part of anything meaningful. Work at the new company was tolerable but hollow. Nobody invited me to happy hours or weekend barbecues. I was competent but invisible. Exactly what happens when have no worth sharing. I tried dating apps. What was I supposed to write in my profile? Recently single after abandoning dying partner and being systematically destroyed by teenager who could see through my lies. The few dates I managed were disasters. I was either too honest about my past or not honest enough. Either way, there were never second dates. One woman, Jennifer, actually seemed interested until she Googled me. Apparently Emma had made sure my story was documented online, reviews on dating sites, comments on social media, a digital scarlet letter that followed me everywhere. I found some interesting information about, Jennifer said over coffee. Want to explain why multiple people online say abandoned sick girlfriend. I tried to spin it. Make it sound less terrible. She listened politely then excused herself to use the restroom and never came back. That night I found the post Emma had written. She'd been thorough. Created accounts on multiple platforms specifically to warn other women about me. Always factual, never hysterical. Just cold, documented truth about what I was capable of. This man dated my mother after abandoning his previous girlfriend who was dying of cancer. Read one post. He left her a note and moved in with my mom the same day. When my mom got pneumonia, he immediately started complaining to her family about how exhausting it was to take care of her. Some people show exactly who they are. Believe them. She'd included no photos, no identifying information that could get her in legal trouble. Just enough detail that anyone who met me and did basic research would find the warnings. Emma had effectively could never surprise another woman with my true nature again. By February the isolation was complete. I'd alienate my few remaining friends by constantly talking about Sarah and how Emma had manipulated her into leaving me. They got tired of hearing me play victim. My sister stopped returning my calls after I spent an entire conversation explaining how unfair everyone was being to me. Made choices, Tom. She said no live with them. Even my own family had written me off. Spring came and went. I developed routines that revolved around avoiding human contact, grocery shopping at midnight, working late to avoid small talk with colleagues, spending weekends in my apartment watching other people's lives play out on screens. I started seeing a therapist. Dr. Martinez was patient but direct. Keep talking about what everyone else did to, she said during our third session. What about what did to them? I've admitted I made mistakes. I said. Mistakes? Tom abandoned someone who was dying. That's not a mistake. That's a choice that reveals character. So I'm just supposed to forever, or supposed to understand why other people can't trust. And why that's entirely reasonable. She was right. Of course she was right. Everyone had been right except me. I stopped going to therapy after that. What was the point? Can't fix fundamentally selfish, can only contain it. By June I'd accepted my new reality. I was going to be alone. Not temporarily, not until I worked on, or made amends, forever. Because Emma had been right about everything. I was the kind of person who runs when love gets hard. Who chooses comfort over commitment. Who will always put first when it matters most. Some people aren't meant for love. Some people are too broken to be trusted with another person's heart. I am one of those people. Last week, I saw Sarah at the grocery store. She looked happy, healthy, free. She was with someone new, a guy who carried her bags and opened doors and looked at her like she hung the moon. The way I used to look at Mom, before loving her became inconvenient. Sarah saw me and nodded politely. No anger, no, just indifference. I'd become a footnote in her story, a brief period of poor judgment she'd moved past. That's what I am now, a cautionary tale that mothers will tell their daughters. A story that women share to warn each other. A reminder that some people will say they love right until the moment need them most. Emma was 17 when she recognized what took me 34 years to understand about. She saved her mother from wasting more time on someone who was always going to disappoint her. I should be grateful. She taught me the most important lesson of my. But gratitude is hard to feel when sitting alone in a studio apartment at 2 a.m., realizing never be anyone's emergency contact again.